Hi folks, I'm Hector Garcia, CPA and Advanced QuickBooks Pro Advisor. And I got this question via email, which is, Hector, I want to clean up my chart of accounts. It's a total mess. I actually want to import a perfect chart of accounts that I downloaded from the internet and import it into my current QuickBooks file, but I don't want to make a mess because I already have accounts and information in it. My friends told me that I need to start over, but is it possible that I can just clean up and get my chart of accounts looking good moving forward? Great question. Let me answer this first by going into QuickBooks Desktop and showing you maybe an example of what this person is going through. So I'm going to go into Reports, Company Financial, Profit and Loss Standard. I'm going to go ahead and run a profit and loss of all dates. And I'm going to sort this by total and then click on descending. And what I want to show you on the screen, it's maybe a QuickBooks file that might look like the one this person is referring to, where they look at the profit and loss and they're seeing 10, 20 income accounts, and then they're seeing like 10 cost of goods sold accounts, and maybe like 30 or 40 expense accounts, and maybe some of these accounts feel redundant. And when they go print a profit and loss report, it prints maybe in 2 pages, 3 pages, or 4 pages, and they want to get this chart of accounts looking clean. Maybe when you print it, only having 1 page long in the profit and loss, and the categories not being redundant. So you actually have a 2-part question, which is, one is how do I clean up my current chart of accounts, which is a mess, and the second one is how do I import a chart of accounts that I have ready to import that I think is perfect, but I already have a current file. So let me break down this explanation into 2 parts. First, let's talk about cleaning your current chart of accounts. So there's a couple ways to do it, and we're going to do just the profit and loss for the context of this video. First thing I would do is look for accounts that are obviously redundant. So when you run the profit and loss report, and again, we go into sort by, I'm going to click on default this time around. I'm going to sort them by name. And one thing that's very important for you to know is that QuickBooks actually starts with alphabetical order, and then QuickBooks can actually modify the order of accounts in the chart of accounts. So we want to basically reset to alphabetical order. So let me show you that real quick. So I'm going to make the profit and loss report a little bit smaller here. I'm going to go into the chart of accounts, list chart of accounts. And then in the chart of accounts, you're going to see in the bottom left of the chart of accounts screen where it says account. I'm going to click on that menu or that button there. And then I'm going to click where it says resort list. What this will do is it'll resort the chart of accounts to alphabetical order. So that's a really important first step. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So once I do that, I refresh my profit and loss. And then the purpose of this is so I can at least look for accounts that possibly have very similar names and that might be redundant. So let's go down the list here and to see if any of these are possibly redundant. So right here, this is a good example here. We got repairs and maintenance. So these two was obvious just based on the first names. It's a great example. So a couple ways to do the cleanup in this case is here in the chart of accounts, I can go 2 routes. One, if I know for sure that these 2 accounts are redundant, like if I double click on each one, look at the expenditures of one, and I double click on the other one, look at expenditure of that one. And if I know for sure these 2 are essentially the same thing, then what I want to do is I just want to merge them. Merging them will basically delete the history of the 2 accounts as separate accounts, and I'll make it just into 1 account. So the merging would be the first step. So let's say, for example, we want to go ahead and merge repairs and maintenance. So to merge, I'm going to find the 2 accounts in the chart of accounts, and I'm going to identify the one that I want to keep. So the one that you want to keep, or the one that has the name you want to keep, what you want to do is you want to right click on it and click on edit account. And this is the one I want to keep. And then I'm going to copy the name of the account. That way I have the name verbatim. So I'm just going to select it, copy it, get out of it by clicking escape, and then go into the account that I want to merge into the one that I want to keep, which in this case is this one called repairs. So I'm just going to right click on that one, click on edit account. And then in this one, I'm just going to delete the current name. The description actually doesn't matter. The name, the account name is what matters. I'm going to right click on that and click on paste. That way I'm basically renaming the old account to what I want the new account to be, or the new merged account to be. And then when I click save and close, QuickBooks will say, warning, what you're asking me to do is to merge the accounts because they do have the exact same name. Would you like to proceed? So at this point, I would just hit yes, and that will do that. And now when I double click on repairs and maintenance, I'm going to see the history of both accounts. All the transactions that were in both accounts is just going to be one account. All right, the next step in the cleanup process is to move accounts that are maybe in the wrong category. So this is typical when an income account is on the expense side, or the expense side is on the income side, or the cost of goods sold is supposed to be income, and so forth. So the first thing I like to do is I like to take a look at the cost of goods sold accounts and see if any of these belong in the expense category and not in the cost of goods sold category. So the only ones I can think of is possibly, and this will vary company by company, but let's say in this particular case, let's say that this one right here called equipment rental, that this actually belongs as an expense category and not a cost of goods sold category. So in the chart of accounts here, I'm going to search for equipment rental. There you go, equipment rental. And then I'm going to move that one over to an expense category. So I'm going to right click on that, click on edit, and then I'm going to change it from cost of goods sold to expenses. I'll go with that, cost of goods sold to expense, and I click on save and close, and that did it. And now again, this varies company by company depending on the type of industry you're in that belongs in cost of goods sold or expense. I'm just using it as an example. So those are the two examples, changing category, and the other one would be the merging, which we did earlier. The other option is to delete accounts that are not being used. So to do that, basically what I do is on the profit and loss report, again, I do all dates, and then I go to customize report, and then I'm going to click here where it says advanced, and then I'm going to choose an option called display rows all. And this will do is it will show accounts that even don't have any numbers in it. So we'll show the ones that have zero. And then I'm going to click OK. And you notice that now you're going to see a couple of accounts with zero intertwined. So this will, the reordering and the sorting will become helpful. So I'm going to go sort by. I'm going to click sort by total. And then I'm going to sort this by any amount, descending or ascending. And then we get to the point where all the zeros are grouped together. So now I can see, let me drag this to the left a little bit. Now I can see that these accounts, finance charges, federal tax, bad debt, less employee portion, health, and taxes, these accounts, these five you see there, are not being used at all. And if you look at them and you're like, I don't think I'm ever going to use this, period, then you just delete them. So in the chart of accounts here, which I opened on the right side, I'm going to search for each one. So I'm going to search for finance charge, and then I right click on it and click on delete. Done. Next one. Let's go to federal tax. Search that. Right click on that and delete. Done. Let's search for bad debt. Click on search. There it is. Right click, delete. Okay. And sometimes you run into errors like, hey, I cannot delete this account. In this case, is associated with an item called bad debt. So this is actually a pretty simple, straightforward box. This tells you what to do. So let me go into the item. Let me go into the item list here. And let me look for an item called bad debt. So apparently there's another item called bad debt. And click on search. There it is. I'm going to right click on the item and click on edit. And yes, effectively, this item is hitting the bad debt account. So I'm going to first delete the item, see if we haven't used it before. Right click on the item and click on delete. Good. We haven't used the item before. So now the item's gone. I should be able to right click and delete the account. Yes, it let me do that. Perfect. Let me go back into the P&L here and refresh. Notice that there's two accounts left. Okay, so now let me search for taxes. Click on search. So is this one called taxes? Okay, right click on that and click on delete. All right. And then the last one is less employee portion, health. I don't know what that is. Let me do search for health. Let's do it again. Health. Okay, less employee portion, health. Right click, delete. And now this one gives me a warning. This says I cannot delete this because it's being used in at least one transaction. But that's weird because I'm looking at the P&L and it has a zero amount. So what I can do is I can hit cancel real quick, and then I can right click on the account and click on quick report and to see what's in there. And then I want to change dates to all dates. And then, okay, so there is an account or there's one transaction hitting this account, which looks like it's a void check. Let me double click on that. All right, so at least even though it's a void check, if there's a transaction hitting it, that's going to cause the issue. So what I'll do is I'll just change this to something else. Whatever it is, I'll change it to some other account that we're using. It's void anyway, so it really doesn't matter. I just want to not hit that account so I can effectively delete it. So save and close. Yes. And then now I should be able to delete it. Delete account. Yes, good. Okay, so that was the other step, which is deleting all the accounts that haven't been used. So we learn how to merge accounts, we learn how to change categories, and we learn how to kind of troubleshoot these accounts that have never been used so we can get rid of them. So of course, if any of those accounts you're going to use in the future, then obviously don't delete them. Let's see what else is not being used. There's this account called Other Expenses. Let's search that. Other Expenses. Click on search. Okay, right click and delete. Yes, perfect. I'll give you a quick tip. If you are in the chart of accounts and you want to know if an account has ever been used. So let's say, for example, you're looking at a different account here and you want to inquire whether or not that's been used before. What you can do, you can right click on that account and click on Quick Report and then click on Dates All, and that would tell you whether or not that account's being used at all. So that's a quick tip on kind of the practical ways on why or how that Quick Report is used. So that's the other way to do it. And then the third way to do it is by grouping the accounts together. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this profit and loss account. I'm going to sort it by total again. I'm going to look at the big number in the top and the small number in the bottom. We already did the alphabetical and we found the ones that were obvious. I just want to look at the dollar values and see which of these I can lump together. Now, typically what I look for is the ones that have the least amount of usage. So if I scroll the way down and look at a couple of these small usage ones, these are typically where you find the most duplicate or redundancy, right? Or the ones that are not being used that often. So let's start with automobile, which is used for $55 all date. So that looks like that might be redundant. Let's go through it to see if we see any other category here that looks and smells like automobile. Let's see what we got here. Okay, nothing so far. Fuel, there you go. There's one, fuel. So that one might be together with automobile. Let's see, let's go up to see if we see anything else. Nothing else really, so only fuel. Yeah, there you go. There's no parking and tolls, and there's no auto rental, there's no auto repairs and maintenance. So in this particular case, I would just merge these here. So let's go into, actually, maybe we can look into the auto expense and try to figure out what it is first. This doesn't tell us much. Maybe that's a repair and maintenance of an auto expense. I mean, you would have to then research to figure out what exactly this is. Let's just assume that this is a discount auto parts. And let's say we purchased, I don't know, I guess a new headlight for the vehicle there. And that's what that $55 is. So if that's the case, then that's a different category than fuel. So what we probably want to do is we want to group these together. So what I'll do is first, I'm going to go into this auto expense and I'm going to change the name of it. Let's search for auto here. Let's do auto. Okay, and I'm going to change it to automobile repairs. Okay, because I looked into it and all the transactions look like auto repair. So I just changed the name of that. And then we got this other one called fuel. Where is that? There's fuel. I'm going to right click on that and click on Quick Report. And yeah, I guess that all looks like fuel, assuming that makes sense. That all looks like fuel. So what I'll do to make this one make more sense, I'm going to right click on it and put fuel and gas or something like that. So make it a little bit more obvious, easier to read. So I'm going to go to save and close. And then what I'll do in this case, because I want to group them together, is I'm going to create a new category. And we're going to go to expense as the category. And then we'll call this one automobile expenses. So I created a new parent category called automobile expenses. And then I want to move automobile repair and fuel to it. So here's automobile repair. I'm going to right click on that, click on edit, and then click on sub account and put that under automobile expenses. Good. And then let's look for fuel. There's fuel and gas. Right click on that, click on edit, make that a sub account. and then put that under automobile expenses and save and close. Let's see what this looks like. Good, it's looking better already. Let's do one more example. Let's go here on the bottom, and we got here utilities, okay, $125. So that one might be redundant with something else. Let's see what else we got that looks like utilities. Let's go up. Water, okay, so obviously that water one. So water and utilities, that goes together. So we found two. Let's see what else we have. Union dues. Telephone, I guess that could go under utilities too. Let's see what else we got. Let's scroll up. Gas and electric, yeah, that's for sure utilities. Let's see what else we got. That's it. So we got gas and electric, water, and utilities. So let's double click on utilities here. See what we got. Let's look at it. It's missing payee again. I guess there's some sort of mixture here. But I guess if this expense category was something like electricity or something like that, then we would change that category maybe to electricity. So let's see if we have electric. So I'm going to change it to electric here, and then click on save and close. Actually, before I do that, let me see. Gas and electric. Okay, so yeah, gas and electric. So that would be redundant. So let's say I want to keep gas and electric. So what I would do then is I would take then this account called utilities or electric, and I looked at the history of it, and I'm just going to merge it because that would actually make more sense. So let's go to list, chart of accounts, and let's type electric, which is the one that I just renamed from utilities. Right click on that, edit, and then I want to name this the same as the one that I want to keep. So gas and electric. All right, perfect. Save and close, and then hit yes to the merge. Beautiful. So now what I want to do is I want to create a general utilities account. So I'm going to go to account, new, and then go to expense. There we go. And then utilities, and then hit save and close. Oh, utilities is already in there. Let's just type utilities, expenses. Let's see if we can figure out what's under utilities. How did that happen? I guess it's redundant. Let's right click on that and quick report. And there's a transaction there. I don't know what happened with the renaming that happened, but regardless, I'm going to go ahead and change this one to gas and electric. Save and close. So move everything out of that generic utilities. Right click on that and delete that because I already have this utilities expense account set up. And then I'm going to make water a sub account of utilities. Perfect. And then we also had gas and electric. Let me search it up here. Gas and electric. Right click on that and make that a sub account of utilities. And then I think it was telephone too. Telephone. Search for telephone. There it is. Right click on that, edit, and make that a sub account of utilities. Save and close. Let's close the chart of accounts. Close that and start looking at the chart of accounts. So what's nice about the sub accounts is now they're nicely grouped and organized under its own parent category. Let's look at automobile and gas, same situation. And what I can do is I can click on collapse rows, and now essentially now I have a smaller chart of accounts. So now I have to go through all these accounts and merge them, delete them, group them, reclassify, whatever it is, until I get to the point where this chart of accounts looks really, really clean. So that's it for the portion where I explain how to clean up an existing chart of accounts. Now for the second part of the question, which was I want to import a chart of accounts that I found off the internet or that I set up in Excel or whatever, and I want to import it into this current chart of accounts so I can organize it into the new chart of accounts. So to make sense of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out this company, and I'm going to open a different company that has a really clean chart of accounts, and I'm going to show you kind of in context how is it that we're going to import it into this new company and organize that chart of accounts. So let me click on File, Close Company, and I'm going to go ahead and find the company file that has a really clean chart of accounts that person was talking about for this scenario. All right, so I opened up a QuickBooks file that I have in my computer, which I call it the ultimate chart of accounts, and I actually use this as a setup for all my new clients. I get them set up in this chart of accounts, which really does contain what I think is the ultimate chart of accounts. So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to go into Reports, Company Financial, Profit and Loss Standard, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Dates, All Dates, and this is a blank file that contains no transactions. So in order to show all the accounts, I'm going to go to Customize Report, click on Advanced, and then click on All, and then click OK and OK, and then show you what I have here together. So I'm going to click on Collapse Rows, and this is a chart of accounts that I created, which is, it works for almost every one of my new clients, and every company is different, every industry is different, but this is like the ultimate chart of accounts. It contains everything really clean and organized. If you look at this category called net sales, I click on the drop down menu, and there's a whole bunch of categories. Everything has an account number. If I go to cost of goods sold, notice that there's all the categories in here, all with account numbers. Subcontractors, organized based on who gets a 1099, who doesn't, all with account numbers. Advertise and promotion, click on the drop down, all different types of categories that go into advertising and promotion. Automobile, all the automobile expenses, all really cleanly organized. Every one of these categories, or most of them, have basically a set of sub-accounts for you to organize everything into. For 99% of my new clients, they never have to create new accounts. Everything goes into one of these categories. Now, the real cool thing about having a chart of accounts like this is when I try to print a report and click on preview, everything comes up in one page. That's the most important thing. If you look at the next page, it's going to be reserved for the other expenses and the partner's personal expenses, which is typically not used very often. But all the relevant stuff is going to be on the first page, right? All right, my net sales, cost of goods sold, my expenses, and my extra income. And again, the second page is reserved for all the personal expenses. So we set that up for this type of company file. As a matter of fact, I have a kit that I sell that contains this chart of accounts and different versions of it. Some with the personal expense account in the balance sheet, some with the profit and loss. And depending on the type of tax return, if it's a corporate return, S Corp, sole proprietorship, partnership, there's actually a version for each one, and it's slightly different. But the generic concept here is I love this chart of accounts, and I want to apply this chart of accounts that's clean and awesome into my existing company file that already happens to have a chart of accounts, but it's sort of kind of messy. So if you happen to have something like this, you can export a chart of accounts from an existing QuickBooks file. I'm going to click on File, Utilities, Export, List to IIF. So if you have an existing QuickBooks file with a great chart of accounts, you can literally just export the chart of accounts by itself. I'm going to export that into the desktop. I'm going to call it Ultimate Chart of Accounts. Okay, that's been saved. And I'm going to go ahead and click Close Company and go back into my other file I was working on. And while that shows up, I'm going to just open up that chart of accounts real quick. I'm going to open it up in Excel just so you get an idea for what it looks like. So this is what was exported from the last QuickBooks file. So the way IIF files work is QuickBooks creates a special file that has all the accounts here, all the categories, all the descriptions. Everything has been exported, and this is what the current chart of account looks like. All the account numbers, all the information is here for it to import. Now, generally speaking, I don't import balance sheet accounts. I only import profit and loss accounts just because balance sheet accounts are very unique. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all these accounts are balance sheet, and you will know because they're the ones on top of the first income account. So I'm going to delete all the current balance sheet accounts. Just delete that off the Excel file, the IIF file, and then click on Save. So now I just kept the profit and loss accounts. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And then I'm going to open up that QuickBooks file again that we were working on just now. Close out of that. I'm going to go into the chart of accounts real quick just so you can see what's in there. And this is the chart of accounts that we were working on just now. Okay, so that's already in there. That already contains information. I'm going to pull up the profit and loss again just to give you some context. And this is the chart of accounts that we were working on just now. So the question was, again, I already got a QuickBooks file. It's already got tons of things. I want to import a current, beautiful, perfect chart of accounts that I have. And I want to integrate it with my current messy QuickBooks file that already has data in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import that chart of accounts into this QuickBooks file. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on account numbers. So I'm going to go to the Edit menu and click on Preferences, and then go up to Accounting, And company preferences, I'm going to click on use account numbers because the old one had account numbers. So this one should have account numbers too. And then click on OK. And that should now reset this account to have account numbers. So if you have account numbers turned on, they will show up there. If they don't have account numbers, they would be missing. Now I'm going to go ahead and import the chart of accounts, but I'm probably going to get an error because there might be some redundant or duplicate accounts. And if there's redundant or duplicate, it won't import. So let's see how that goes. I'm going to go into the File menu, go into Utilities, Import IAF File, and then I click OK. And then I'm going to click on Import IAF, and then go into my desktop, and then select the file that I just exported from my other QuickBooks file, or maybe you downloaded this from my website. I'll have links below in the description explaining how you can get my ultimate chart of accounts. I actually sell a kit for every single company type. There's a link below. Check it out. If you want to save some time building a chart of accounts, just get mine. Trust me, it's years of experience building a chart of accounts. It's a great one. So let me click on open, and then we're gonna let it go. If there's an error, it will tell me, hey, X line had an error. There's some potential duplicates, and then once they come in, I'll show you exactly what to do with it. All right, check it out. So it says that 2 were able to be imported and 164 had an error. So what we can do is we can click on Review Now, and this will open up an Excel file letting me know all the errors that are coming in. So in this specific case, this error, it's about tax line mapping. Okay, so if you see anything having to do with account tax line, that's because when you export a chart of accounts, it contains the tax line mapping, which is reserved to the type of tax return that you told QuickBooks you had. So in this particular case, this was supposed to be a partnership return, a 1065, because that's the same setup we had in the other QuickBooks file. So I want to make sure that this one has the same setup here. So let me go into company, and let me go into my company. And let's see how this is. Yeah, see, this is set up with a Form 1120S. So unfortunately, if you already had it set up in another QuickBooks file with a different income tax mapping form, you're going to have an issue importing it. So you have 2 options. One, I can delete the tax line mapping from the IAF file. So let me show you how that will work. So I'm going to open the IAF file in Excel. And there's going to be something called tax line mapping, which is actually this one right here. It's hard to know, but it's this thing right here called SCD. So if I actually delete all this, I'm going to show you. If I delete all this column that says SCD, and I click on clear, I'm going to save this one as, because I don't want to lose the original contents here. So I'm going to save this one as number 2. Okay, and close that. Here's the other file here, and I just have to make sure that there's no .txt added to it. That's something that Excel does when it opens an IAF file, so I'll get rid of that. And so now I have both of them here. So I'm going to open the old one real quick in Excel, and this one has the tax line mapping. And then if I click open the new one in Excel, this one doesn't. So that's option number 1. I can do that and import that one instead. Or option number 2 is make sure that you go into QuickBooks and you set up the reporting to match the type of form. So you can go either way. In this particular case, what I'll do, because I want to bring in all the tax line mapping, I'm going to change the form here in QuickBooks. Although you probably shouldn't do that if yours is set up to the correct one. But I do it just so I can import it with the tax line mapping. So I'm going to click OK. And then go back into File, Utilities, Import IAF file, import my original one right here, and click on Proceed. All right, so now it says it was able to import 160 accounts and 6 failed. So I'm going to click on Review Now so I can see what failed. And right here, so on Categorized Income, failed because that was already in there. So that's fine. We don't need to create another one for that. Cost of goods sold failed because that was already in there. Okay, that's fine. We can work with what's in there. Depreciation expense is already in there. So these are basically records are already in there. So QuickBooks is not going to import the same name twice. So I'm okay with this. Maybe in your particular case, you might not. So you might want to take a look at the ones that don't import, but let's say I'm fine with it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to click on close and then go into my list, into my chart of accounts. And now I should see a lot of different accounts sort of intertwined, mixed in with each other. And now this is where I'm going to make the decisions and figure out how I'm going to integrate all the accounts with all the new accounts. So this is the really important part that you want to pay attention to. So I'm going to go to report, company financial, profit and loss. Then I'm going to go to dates all. And then I'm going to click on customize report, advance all. Okay. And now we're about to get a lot of accounts, a lot of potential duplicate accounts. So the new account that I wanted to have is this one called net sales. This is the one that I liked. This is the one that I loved. That's the one from my old other QuickBooks file that I imported in. And now all these extra income accounts that are in there, maybe I want them in the net sales category, or maybe I want them into their own category. This is where you have to now make some decisions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this to the left here and open up my chart of accounts. And then I'm going to go down to my accounts. I'm going to go to accounts and click on resort list again and click OK. Then go in my P&L. Just make sure my P&L is sorted by default. Okay, good. That way the P&L is going to be on the same format as my chart of accounts. So these are the ones that I like. Okay. And then these are all the extra ones that maybe I don't like. So let's say, for example, one of the simple things I can do is I can just take all the existing accounts and move them into a subcategory of net sales. So I right click on each one, go to edit, and make that a subcategory of net sales and continue. So I like making them subcategories first, looking at how it looks like subcategorized, and then at that point I merge, because again, I'm making decisions about permanent decisions about what my chart of accounts is going to look like, and I want to see what they look like under my new configuration, and then I merge afterwards. So then I proceed to make all these sub accounts. Now, one really easy way to make them sub accounts is if the one that I want, the parent one, is sitting right on top under all the subs of the one that I want to merge, I typically just click on that little diamond there. So I click and drag to the right. It's very sensitive. You see that little dashed line show up in there, and let go, and that actually makes it a sub account. So I'm going to make it with all these. So all I'm doing is literally just dragging these slightly to the right. If that's difficult for you, and trust me, that's difficult for a lot of people, just click right click, edit, and make it a sub account of net sales. Okay, so like you don't have to do the weird click and drag thing if you want to. I like doing that, so I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm going to click and drag all of them. And typically I leave uncategorized income as its own category. Go back into my profit and loss. I can now collapse net sales. Look, so now I got this beautiful looking profit and loss when I collapse net sales. Now at this point, I can expand these. I'm going to go to account, resort list again, click OK, refresh on the P&L side, and then let's see, let's do a refresh here, make sure it's all sorted. And then at this point, now that they're subcategory, I sit there, analyze, and I figure out what I want to mix together. So let's say, for example, materials income and construction income and design income, I want to make them all sales of services, for example. So I look for the one that I want, which is sales of services, right click and click on edit, copy that name, and then go to the ones that I want to merge. So I got construction income, edit, make that service sales, save and close. Yes, beautiful. Next one, design income, right click, edit. Let's go ahead and rename that to sales of services, save and close. See what else we got that we want to make into that. Let's say labor income, that one too. So right click on that, click on edit, and change the name to sales of services, save and close. Love that picture sound. That's the merge sound. Let's see what else we got here. So materials, and I think materials. Yeah, materials, that would be good enough. So let me take materials and I'm going to merge that into sales of products. I'm going to right click on sales of product, copy that name. You don't have to copy it, but and you don't have to remember how to spell it exactly. Right click on that, click on edit, and then I would paste that, save and close. Yes. Perfect. And now we have equipment rental income. Maybe we can leave that there. We have reimbursement income, permit reimbursement income, reimbursed freight and delivery. Maybe I want to mix all those together. So let's just have one called reimbursement income. That's fine. We'll have that one. Copy that. And let's look for everything else that has the word reimbursement. So we got permit reimbursement. Right click, paste that, save and close. Yes. And then there's reimburse freight and delivery. Right click on that, paste, save and close. Great. And then that's the point, right? You're starting to look at your chart of accounts, in your profit and loss accounts. You're starting to see, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and then you start constructing it. You start merging it after you put it as a sub account of that main category that you wanted. Let's do one more example. Let's go down to our cost of goods sold. Let's collapse that, and let's see. We have our new categories, cost of goods sold and subcontractors. Those are the two new big categories that we created. And then we have all the accounts that are still sitting in there. So now I can just make them a subcategory. So let's say job expenses, we'll make that a subcategory of cost of goods sold. Bond expenses, we'll make that a subcategory of cost of goods sold. Then we got job materials, subcategory cost of goods sold. Permits and licenses, right click, subcategory cost of goods sold, right? Same thing as doing that little line drag, right click, make that a subcategory of cost of goods sold. There we go. I know this is boring stuff, but this is how it works. I mean, you want to clean up a current chart of accounts, you have to put in the work. And then we got this merchant credit cards. That should probably also go as a subcategory of cost. Actually, let's leave that as its own category. I guess that could work fine in there. So we'll collapse cost of goods sold. Beautiful. We got subcontractors and merchant accounts. Okay, so that's it. So I got to the point where maybe that's how I want it to look like. So that's kind of the point, right? So we went through the entire exercise of merging, making a subcategory, reclassifying, deleting the stuff we're not using it. Now we imported a brand new chart of accounts that we love, and now we're adapting. We're adapting the old chart of accounts to the new one, and we're doing it step by step by making them a subcategory. And then again, after you look at the subcategories, usually again you want to resort the list again, click OK, and then you want to see usually based on the account numbers or the alphabetical order, look for obvious duplicates. So in this case, let's see if we see any obvious duplicates. There's freight and shipping cost, and then there's freight and delivery. Obviously, those two are duplicates. So let's do one more one here. So let's say we're going to keep that one. So let's copy this name, and then we have freight and delivery. Right click, and we merge those two together. Save and close. Okay, so that's the concept, is that chart of accounts starts getting smaller and smaller. And also, anytime you see things inside of this other category, you definitely want to reclassify those. You want to double click on that, and you want to go in and reclassify everything that's hitting a parent account. So basically, all these transactions are hitting a parent account. They're hitting the cost of goods sold parent account. We want to put that into a subcategory, job expenses or purchases or something like that, job materials, because we don't want anything hitting the parent category. So in this case, we'll show you that last example here. I double clicked on the 23,000. Any transactions that can be reclassified. Okay, this bill could probably be reclassified. Double click on that bill. No, I can't because it's using an item. And let's look at this inventory adjustment. Okay, this one can be reclassified. So let's adjust that into, let's say, job expenses. Click Save and Close. Okay, and then there's another inventory adjustment here that should also go on to job expenses. Okay, and the rest of these, they're all coming from invoices and bills, which means they're coming from items. So I showed you this earlier. We have to change the underlying account attached to the items. So because it's items hitting the underlying account, what we can do is we can go into the chart of accounts, not in the chart of accounts, in the item list. And then in here, I'm going to expand this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into right click and then click on customize columns. And then I'm going to show here the cost of goods sold account. And I want to see what inventory parts are hitting this cost of goods sold account. I'll click on that and then click OK. And then so here's my cost of goods sold account. So I'm going to sort these by cost of goods sold account. Then I'm going to go down and see which items are hitting just the plain cost of goods sold account. So here's the answer. So all these items here are hitting that plain cost of goods sold account. So I have to right click on each one and change that onto a subcategory, job expenses, and go to the next one, right click, go to the category, where are you, and go into job expenses, hit yes. Okay, so I'm going into each one of these items and changing the cost of goods sold account to the parent, to the subcategory, because I don't want it in the parent category. So usually once I'm done changing it in all of them, job expenses, there we go. Again, the principle is we don't want anything hitting a parent account, right? That's the point of organizing the whole chart of accounts, is that everything is under a subcategory. Nothing's hitting the main category. Perfect. I'm going to click on cost of goods sold account again and make sure nothing is hitting just the plain cost of goods sold account. Perfect. Let me look at the regular account category, this column here. Make sure nothing is hitting just the cost of goods sold category. Great. So after you do that, and I'm going to go back and refresh my profit and loss, notice that nothing is hitting that other category anymore. So as long as nothing is hitting the parent category, then we're good to go. And then you're going to go down every single one of these categories, and you're going to have to, reorganize them, merge them, put them as a subcategories of your new chart of accounts, and then you should have a chart of accounts that you love, that when you hit collapse, it prints into one page and it looks exactly the way you want it to look. But again, it's not a simple process. So if you watch the whole video up to this point, thank you for watching, and add some videos or some comments below. Did I cover everything? Was there something not cleared? What would you like to see in the next video? Make sure you hit like and subscribe and watch out for other videos like this. Thank you.